Hello and welcome to today's business strategy webinar with Santander Breakthrough and Smarta. My name is Matt Thomas. I was part of the founding team at Smarta and joined today not by Rob Tominey, from co-founder of Mainstage Travel, who unfortunately jetted off out of the country this morning to pick up some urgent business, but we do have, fortunately, Aidan Levine, who is the other co-founder and the MD of the company. Aidan, welcome. Really looking forward to today's discussion, which is about how you drive the business from 1 million to, I guess, startup and established, done that kind of like first couple of years of trading and really push it forward and drive it into a significant business. And we're looking around the 20 million mark. So, looking forward to today's discussion. I'm going to lead the questions with Aidan to start with, but everybody listening in, you should see that you've got a question box on your navigation panel. We really want this to be, this session to be a point where you can both Aidan and myself questions and make sure that we are giving you as much advice that's relevant to your business as possible. So, we'll kick things off, but make sure that you put your questions in that box, and we'll try and answer all of them. Aidan, welcome. Thank you for joining us at the very last minute.
No problem.
Do you want to quickly start by just kind of giving everybody the kind of the backstory about how you and Rob set up Mainstage Travel and what you initially set it up to be?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So we set up Mainstage. I think it's probably about 3.5 years ago now. And Rob and I we both went to Manchester University, but we didn't really know each other very well. We kind of knew of each other, and it was on a night out, I think, that we just bumped into each other having a chat. He was working for Red Bull, I was running quite a few events at uni, and we just got chatting about things we could do together. And one of those things was we both just come back from Ibiza. And we noticed that, you know, anyone that's been to Ibiza knows that as a student, Ibiza is the easiest way to sort of burn through that student loan. So we were kind of looking at ways we could do a student-friendly trip to Ibiza that included all the expensive things like the club tickets and everything around that. So our business actually began with a student Ibiza holiday that we kind of just put on as a punt, put a few flyers around the library, used Facebook and different forms of social media to get it off the ground, and we didn't really know where we were going with it. It was just something where we'll put on a holiday, we both will probably get a free holiday out of it, and kind of see what happens. And from that, you know, we sold, I think it was about 600 places in that first year, and from there we were like, right, well, this model obviously works, let's kind of try and create a viable business model that's scalable across this and other destinations, and that's kind of where Mainstage Travel was born, essentially.
Brilliant. And do you want to then quickly jump to the future so that everybody can see kind of where you are now? Give us an overview of the business as it is at the moment.
Yeah, cool. So I mean, yeah. So now we've kind of added a few different strings to the bow, so to speak. So on the one hand, we are one of the largest sort of youth travel agents in the UK. So we operate sort of clubbing holidays across the main clubbing islands for the 18 to 24-year-olds. So our holidays are different. It's not, we kind of saw where people like Club 18 to 30 and those kind of brands that have got a bit of a dated twist to them, we saw where they were missing out, and we decided to create products that are based around music, based around up-and-coming artists, everyone from Tiny Temper to Example, and create these really fun trips which are almost like mini festival holidays. So that's kind of one part of our business where we now carry tens of thousands of passengers on that front. And then the second arm is that Rob and I both really like skiing, and we wanted to do something that our mates would come to. And so we decided to put on a small little ski holiday, which turned out to be now it's the second biggest festival in Europe in the winter. So that's Snowbox Festival. And so the second arm of it is we run our own festival, and we're looking to do several other festivals over the next sort of 12 months. And then the third side of it is the kind of, for us, is the huge growth opportunity is the technology side, and that's providing and white labeling booking systems and technology platforms to music festivals across Europe and to large hotel chains that enable customers to book everything you could possibly want, whether it's flight, transfer, hotel, accommodation, all within one click. And that's kind of where we're headed, whilst growing the other two arms of the business as well.
Brilliant. It's an incredible story. Do you want to? I'd love to hear at what point you and Rob sat down and realised that, you know what, we've got a serious business here, but we need to kind of evolve some kind of strategy. So did it all happen organically and opportunities presented themselves, or was there a strategic process between stopping and looking at how we make this a proper serious business?
I think it was, to be honest, I think it was after the success of the original Ibiza trip, and it was, you know, between ourselves, we're like, right, this is actually a product and a model that works if it's tweaked. And so, you know, we looked at how we could we looked at the travel industry, we looked at how everyone else was working, you know, that everyone was charging a lot more but making less money, and it kind of confused us how everyone else was operating. And, you know, we looked at all the overheads that people like Thomas Cook have got, and you know, how they're structured and rigid to their chartered airlines. And yeah, so I mean, I guess it was after the Ibiza trip we kind of sat down and realised that the industry is kind of there for the taking. There's no one really dominating the youth market like there should be, and whether it would work if we, you know, if we put products on across other destinations, people would take to it. So it was a bit of a punt on that front, but we knew that the mechanics and the economics behind it worked, and it was just whether, you know, we could attract the customers to get there really from a marketing perspective. But so I guess to answer your question, it was after that first success of the Ibiza trip, it was there and then we fully assessed strategy, wrote a business plan, and went through all the finances on that front as well.
I think the mechanics and the finances of what you guys do is really interesting. I think, you know, you really represent that kind of disruptive online business that is going into a kind of a staid industry and shaking it up. Can you quickly explain to us how your model works and how you knew that you had something that was scalable?
Right, well, without trying to give too much detail away to any competitors that might be listening, essentially, you know, we're different to any other kind of large tour operator. The fact that we don't have, you know, huge shops across the high street, we don't own aircraft, we're not limited by set flight routes. You know, we offer every single low-cost airline from any airport in the country. And you know, what we've realised is this game is all about economies of scale, like most industries are, but that's all achievable through volume. So for us, it's kind of been a thing where, as we've been able to grow, we've been able to demand you know, bigger contracts. It is more of a case of once we're able to prove ourselves after that first year as a company and approach large hotel chains and negotiate deals and terms with a kind of proven track record. It was all about, for us, finding the best way to crunch those numbers. And in travel, it's all about obviously trying to get the most margin on that bottom line, and utilising different methods of that. We've kind of been able to get there and achieve it.
And what's been the kind of I guess the most exciting element of it for you as founders as well? So it's brilliant us talking about the business, but I'd love to know kind of for you two guys that, you know, relatively young, you were young founders and looking, you know, I'm sure you could have gone on and had successful careers, but what inspired you both to do your own thing and I guess to just grow it into a proper business as well? I don't know, using that phrase very often, but you know, to put the work into it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's kind of, Rob and myself kind of come from that classic conkers in the playground sort of background, the one that you probably hear on The Apprentice every year out. But I mean, generally we both kind of throughout our younger years, teens and at uni, worked across running our own different things. So Rob set up a service at uni where people could buy tickets and get them delivered for club nights direct to their door. I was running student events. I had a fancy dress shop in the student area in Manchester. You know, various different things. So I think from the outset we kind of always knew that we wanted to do something ourselves, and the kind of working for someone else, that element of securing a huge deal but knowing that all that money is going to someone else's pocket, and all those sort of elements that come into it, and the freedom and flexibility to create something was something that I think we always knew we were going to do, and I think that's why we had the drive to kind of, once we noticed that gap in the market, and once we saw the opportunity, we just had that drive there to kind of strive to get there, because all our mates were jumping off on grad schemes left, right and centre, and everyone's kind of, oh, what are you going to do, what's grad scheme you're going to, and it's kind of, that's the sort of thing that's encouraged whilst you're at uni. It's what grad scheme are going to end up on, and that's not where Rob and I wanted to be, and so I think that was kind of motivation to sort of get this off the ground and turn this into something really viable.
Yeah, brilliant. And do you think that you've been able to build a culture around you, because you're both young founders as well? Do you think what does the workforce look like?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, hopefully they're all happy. But I mean, for them, we've grown from just Rob and myself to now we've got like 8 full-time staff in London, and then we've got across the summer and the different products, we'll probably have about 50 or 60 staff that will work across all our different islands, etc. But yeah, I mean, we've tried to create a fun culture. I mean, everyone works hard here, especially being in travel. You've got to be available, all year round, around the clock. Especially with the customer service team. Our customer service team are great, but they're inundated. But we try and make sure everyone has fun. We've got festivals that everyone gets thrown out to. Obviously, summer holidays are great for people in the office, that they get free trips and free things to go on the products. And especially with the music scene that we're into, there's loads of opportunities for our staff to kind of experience and see gigs that they really want to go to as well. So we do try and keep it fun, but there is a lot of work that goes on in the background as well. But yeah, with us being young, we try and employ a lot of people that are similar age or younger than us to keep that vibe as well.
Absolutely. Talking about fun experiences, and I'm not sure if it was one or not for you guys, but ultimately it was successful. Do you want to tell me about your Dragon's Den experience?
Yeah, for sure. So I think actually we got headhunted by BBC because of Smarta. I think it was the year when we were one of the winners of the Smarta 100. And I remember receiving a phone call from the BBC saying, we've seen you on here. Would you be interested in coming into the Den? And so it was thanks to you guys that we actually went down the gauntlet. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing, to be honest. It was a great experience. I mean, on TV you're shown, I think we were probably on about for 12, 14 minutes, but we were in that room for about 3.5 hours. In front of the dragons, and yeah, I mean, it was intense. It was grueling, but I think because we kind of went in there with an already profitable business, that we knew what we were doing, we knew our figures, we knew where we were going, we knew what we would do the investment, and we knew why we wanted the investment. For us, we managed to kind of turn the Den from being less dragon to a bit more friendly, and for them, I think they saw it as a good opportunity, and eventually we got 4 out of 5 of them making us an offer, which was awesome. But yeah, no, it was incredible from start to finish. It was kind of a bit of a whirlwind, and then obviously tried to hide under as many duvets as possible when it was shown back on TV, because I don't think there's anything worse than watching yourself back on a television program. But yeah, no, it was amazing. It was a brilliant experience, and everything that's kind of come from that as well has been fantastic. So all in all, having Piers Linney on board as a director in our company is amazing, especially on a technology front. Piers is really well versed in technology. His background's cloud computing, and he's a qualified lawyer, trained accountant. He's pretty much the perfect person you'd want on board, and his knowledge and his experience is massively helped guide us into areas which we don't really know. So it's been brilliant.
I'd love to talk about the technology side of things. So, can you explain to everybody who perhaps from a distance mightn't know the kind of the really growing technology side to your business? Explain to us what it does.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, this all kind of came about from our own technology that we developed for our own products. But essentially, for what we've built is a platform whereby a customer can purchase a low-cost airline flight to wherever they're going with be it a festival ticket with accommodation and a transfer that's all designed to fit in with the festival's kind of needs and facilities. So it basically makes it a lot easier for for people that are wanting to go to festivals in Croatia. They need to work out what airport to fly to. They need to find a bus from whether it's Venice or somewhere to the festival. They need somewhere to stay, and it could end up being the customer journey could be 4 or 5 different websites trying to compare prices using it's a long drawn out process. Whereas we've developed a one-click process where the customer finds all that information, can book it there and then with just a small deposit, or within one platform that sits on the festival website. So for the festival, it's great because it means more people would book with them or book accommodation with them or whatever, and it makes it easier. And for the customer, it's just complete ease of process. And then we kind of took that from the festival industry into a market which we know really well, which is the sort of hotel side. And we've seen that hoteliers these days have almost got their pants down to companies like Expedia and Booking.com who charge silly commissions for bookings. So we thought, the only reason the customer books with Expedia over the hotel direct is because they want to book the flight and the hotel together as a package, know that they're protected, and do it that way. So we kind of turned it on its head and said to hotels, if we could offer you a flight plus hotel service through your website, and all you have to do is add a simple button onto your site and we'll do everything else, would that be of interest? And they all bit our hands off, and so we've kind of developed this product. And so that's kind of my role at the moment, is just managing the relationships, bringing more hotels on board and building it through there. So yeah, but it's going really well. We've got some large major hotel chains signed up with it, and the product works. We're seeing now 33% of a lot of bookings through hotels are with a flight, and that's increasing their direct bookings, and they're not having to pay silly commissions. So it's a win-win situation for hotels and festivals.
And what's the business model for you on that? So is it a licensing agreement, or do you make money from a percentage of sales?
It varies, but generally it's a commission that we take. We take a small commission, or we make a margin on the ancillary products like transfers and insurance.
Cool. And how do you so where's the focus for the business? And on the one hand, you've got a very public brand that relies on being public and standing for something, but then on the other, you've got almost a kind of a B2B underlying model. How do you focus the balance between the two?
Well, I mean, that's where we split the roles up within the company. So I mean, obviously we want to grow all the sides of the business. We want to carry on growing. We see sort of travel products, the clubbing holidays, that side of the business is still so much potential in there for us to get bigger, to add more products, to add more destinations, and to increase our capacity within those. So we split we split the roles up. We've developed within the company. We've got different people that will sit on different products. So we view everything we do, those 3 facets, we see them all as being equally important. And essentially just growing all of those to their sort of maximum potential. But from my point of view, overseeing it all, the technology side is probably the one with the biggest potential, just because of the volume of how many hotels there are in the world. It's insane that they're not doing this already, and we're kind of first movers in this, and the potential there is huge. So the focus is on everything. And it's each person within our business. So Rob sits on mainly the sort of holiday side of things. I sit mainly on the tech, and we both have a core focus to grow those.
You're both core to running the business. And at any point in the future, do you think you'll need to bring in senior management? Do you think you plan to step back at any point? Are you guys equipped to take the business to the next level?
I think so. I mean, I think we've proved ourselves that we've grown rapidly over the last 3 years. We're going to carry on growing at that level. I can't see myself or Rob stepping back in the foreseeable future. I mean, by all means, we will look to probably bring in some experienced staff to kind of head up as we get bigger and the size of our operations become, huge to kind of manage. We definitely will be looking to bring in some sort of senior personnel to kind of oversee those. But I think Rob and I will always, for the foreseeable future, be fully on board. I do think we've got the skill set to drive us to that next step as well. So I think we'll utilise peers, we'll utilise senior staff that we'll bring in, but I think ultimately we're going to be the core focus in driving this forward.
Sure. Do you want to just tell us about some of the sort of challenges and setbacks that you might have had? Anything that you kind of, any strategy that you implemented that went wrong, that you abandoned? I don't know if we lost you for a second. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here now, yeah.
Okay. No worries. So I was just asking you, could you tell us about some of the challenges or setbacks that you've had, and were there any strategies that you've abandoned, or it's rarely plain sailing, right?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, the nature of the industry that we work in, there's always going to be things that crop up that you don't expect to happen, whether it be suppliers failing to provide X, Y, or Z, or whether it's, I mean, from the outset, we had hotels in Mallorca that were double booking us, overbooking us. We'd have passengers turn up and the hotel had overbooked them and whatever, but we always had a plan B. I think especially being in travel, with you wanting to provide the best quality product for your customer, it's so important as part of your strategy that there's always a really quick backup plan that can be actioned straight away. So in that instance, so for example, we had a hotel that told us 3 days before we had a hotel in Spain that told us 3 days before we had 400 people arriving that they could only give us 40 of those 400. And this is in peak season where every hotel is fully booked. And as part of our strategy, we always have different contractors that we can turn to and open up when need be on standby. So at that point, it was just kind of utilising different sort of bed banks and suppliers that we had available to kind of alleviate that issue. And I think for us, there's multiple things from even things like airstrikes from the French recently, and it means that flights were cancelled and having to deal with those customers, even though it's not your direct fault, they're still booked a package with you, and it's how you strategize to try and make sure that that customer has the best possible service and is eventually delivered their product. And it's constantly having a contingency, I think, is what I'd kind of say on that front. Always being able to turn to a plan B, which is anytime we create an operational strategic plan, every part of that plan will have a plan B, and in most cases a plan C, and different ways that we can flick those into action when need be.
And what is the plan for the next couple of years? So where are you on a road to now?
I think, to be honest, I think the technology side is going to be huge. At the rate that we're taking on hotel chains, I can see that in itself becoming quite a large part of maybe a separate business that's kind of flicked off the side of Mainstage. But I can see, we've got so many ideas in terms of we're going to be developing a ski brand, which isn't, so we've got the ski festival, but for people that want to book generic ski holidays for much cheaper than our competitors, we're going to be offering basically similar to onthebeach.com, as you'd book a summer holiday through there, but on the slopes essentially. So that's going to be called weareski.com, and that goes live really shortly, and that's going to be offering incredible ski packages across some of the best ski destinations. We're going to be launching a new Ibiza product, and then so it's just for us, it's growing more products, it's increasing our portfolio, and then just dominating the markets that we're in.
Cool. Okay, I think we've got some questions to ask you. I'll take the first few now. Everybody, please do remember that you've got a question box on your admin panel, so you can make sure that you get your questions in, and we'll try and get Aidan or myself to answer them before we finish. So the first one is from Alexander Gray Johnson, and he doesn't say what his company is, but he says that it sounds like you have similar models in different industries. We have established an excellent volume of clients, so we are now in a position to approach um, corporations for new contracts that will take our company to the next level. Is there any advice that you can provide on how to make sure we have how we get their attention, how to make them aware of the service? So really, how do you kind of build partnerships with large organisations?
Okay, no, good question. I mean, the way that we've kind of approached it is it's on various levels. I mean, sometimes you maybe have to pretend you're someone else to get their attention. I mean, when we first started out, at the very start, when we went around hotels, meeting them, asking to see their rates and get a contract, you know, a lot of them said, "Who are you?" We said, "Oh, we're Mainstage Travel." We're like, "Well, who the hell is Mainstage Travel? We never heard of you. You probably won't be able to sell rooms, not giving you space." So, you know, we'd approach it saying, "We work for so and so. Can we see what prices?" You know, we say, you know, that's where you'd start from. But I guess when you're at a point where you're trying to form relationships with um, large partners, it's trying to prove your worth to them. So maybe it's a case of providing the service for free for a short time, and then you know, maybe say 6 months we'll provide it for free if you're happy with our service. You know, then we'll carry on the standard commercial terms. You know, there's various ways around that. I mean, that's what we do with a lot of our large hotel chains. Is we'll be like, right, we'll give you a month's free trial, see if you like the product. They'll obviously like the product because it works for them, and then that's when we go, okay, fine, it's going to cost you this much moving forward. So you know, there's various ways around that.
It's about kind of building relationships rather than trying to bust down doors and set up a partnership right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Okay, so we've got another question, and this one is from Steve Daniels of Just Right Products. Hi, Steve. I know you've tuned in before, so good to have you back. Just had a look to see if you have an app, and you don't. Sounds like you should have one. Can you explain why you haven't?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, that is something which we are working towards. I mean, because of we have all our sites are kind of mobile friendly, all optimized to mobile in terms of booking, because that's where most of our market kind of work. But I mean, an app is something we are looking at. But when it comes to booking holidays, most people generally will do their research on a mobile but book off a desktop. And so, you know, in terms of information and having that on display, yeah, an app is great. But in terms of actual conversions for us, most people generally book a holiday on a laptop or a desktop PC, just from a trust kind of basis and point of view. So, yeah, I agree. An app is something which we are working towards, and we do have apps for each of our products that we give to our guests that contain the information with itineraries and who's playing at what festival and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, Mainstage Travel as a whole, that's definitely something we'll be moving towards. But you know, as it kind of stands, it's minimal in terms of getting those bookings in.
So I think that the next question is definitely not a minimal part of what you guys are doing or will be in the future. So Martin Zeman wants to ask about big data. The importance that it's played in your scaling up. I imagine you guys are collecting an awful lot of data on, you know, how we all holiday and how the hotel industry and the travel industry works. How important has that been, and how important will it be for you going forward?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, data is huge. Yeah, we've got a huge database, and we're quite lucky that we're in a position where, because we offer a kind of wide portfolio of products, that people may book with us 1 year or, you know, one trip in one destination, and then because we've delivered a good service in that destination, that they come and repeat book with us. But yeah, for us, it's so important to maintain that database, to find out all our customer booking trends, what works, what doesn't work, getting their feedback, and then essentially utilising their habits and their needs to form either new products, new destinations, or better packages, and get that customer to rebook. Because, you know, as everyone knows, it's so much cheaper to get your existing customer to book than it is to attract new clients. So yeah, data is something which is so key to us. Looking at trends, I mean, we constantly study analytics across our sites in terms of everything from attribution funnels to times on site, times on pages, yeah, all those sort of things which everyone probably looks at and maybe glances over. We study like it's the Bible, because essentially, if something's wrong on our website, that will massively affect our conversion ratio. And we need to make sure that everything we do, which I guess anyone that's listening that works in on an e-commerce basis will know that it's so important to get your conversion rate as high as possible.
So I think it's a really interesting topic in terms of how it can aid conversion and focus marketing spend, etc. But I guess the data that you're collecting is also an asset for the company as well, especially if you're at any point in the future looking towards exit. Have you started to kind of do you start to think that way? Do you make sure that you've got your kind of customer segmentation and data analysis in check with a view to it being an important asset of the business?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, maybe not thinking as far as exit, but keeping exit in mind. Yeah, definitely. We making sure that our data is as refined as possible and getting everything in check that's something that we do constantly. So yeah, for sure, data is such a huge asset to any business, and especially the size that we're kind of at now, with the size of our database. And yeah, definitely, for sure.
Cool. So I've got a couple more questions. Guys, keep them coming, but make sure you get them in if you want us to get through them before the end of the webinar. We've got another question from Alexander Gray Johnson, and he said from his experiences he found working with a friend didn't work out. How do you keep your relationship strong with Rob inside and outside of the company?
I think, yeah. I can completely understand that. I mean, I think kind of quite lucky that Rob and I weren't friends at university. Completely different social circles, still are. I mean, we obviously know each other's friends and that sort of thing, but we keep our work-life balance pretty separate. I mean, we spend so many days in the office with each other. It's rare that I'd ring him up and ask him to come for a beer on a Saturday, as most people probably would do with their own sort of existing work colleagues. So yeah, I mean, we've been kind of quite lucky that, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say Rob's not my friend. He is a friend, but it's kind of, we kind of came into this where we didn't really know each other, and our kind of relationship's always really been on a business level. It's never, yes, there's a social element and aspect of everything that we do, but being fairly blessed that we've kept our work life and private life pretty separate. And when we started, I only really knew much about him from his business background and him from me, and that was the kind of platform we took off from, rather than us being, long-term social ties before that. So that's why we've kind of balanced it quite nicely.
Will's taking me back to business, and he wants to know how you funded it right at the very start. So what was your startup capital, and how long did it take you to break even? Is that something you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, we both funded it, so it was all self-funded, and that was from, so Rob sold his ticket business at uni. I had money that I'd made from the events and I sold the fancy dress shop as well. That was doing at the time, so we used that money, which wasn't, we put in, not huge sums, but enough to kind of take a punt. But we broke even after the first trip. So, we designed that, we went into that business with, we're going to make this much money per head, and that's essentially what we did. So, I mean, in terms of when did we break even, we broke even from the get-go.
Cool. I guess it is it's a cash generative business, right? So should be the case.
Yeah, exactly. And then for us, which was really important, was for the first 2 years, or first 18 months of us being alive, is we didn't take a penny out of the company. Everything got reinvested. As I say, Rob and I were living off sort of previous wins from other businesses, living not extravagant lifestyles, but making sure that we had we basically wanted to make sure that every penny that we generated from the first 2 years of profits was reinvested to help grow the company down the line, and that was a kind of sacrifice that we both made, but we had the funds there available to kind of live off. But yeah, so, that's got us into a position now where it's where we are today.
Cool. We have a question from Anisha Collins, who says that she runs a company selling short films online, and wants to organise screenings around the country. So I guess she wants to get out and meet the public and spread the word. Do you have any advice on the best ways to promote?
Yeah, I mean that sort of thing sounds like it'd be great on social media. I mean, I've seen recently on my Facebook's been inundated with people going to cinema screenings across the country, which has actually been really bizarre. But I don't know if it's like a thing that's been trending on. I mean, Facebook's now turned into more of a sort of YouTube kind of platform anyway, with the video content. But definitely for us when we started out, Facebook was so key in spreading the word. And I guess especially with what she's looking to with a business, because you can target so nichely across a certain demographic. If you wanted to do a screening in Birmingham, you could target to the certain age group and interests of whatever you're looking for. So I mean, definitely recommend utilizing social media as much as possible for that sort of thing, because it's your reach, your capability of growing, and the kind of multiplier effect from there is huge. And as I say, you can massively custom and tailor pick that audience to be perfect fit for what you're looking for. And then what we also found really well was kind of the whole back to basics, was just things like flyering. So I mean, when we first started out, I mean, as I say, we left flyers around like university libraries and certain areas where we knew people would pick them up, stuck them on computer screens across campus, and then previously we've gone to, so for Snowbox Festival, we'd attend all the cinema screenings for ski films, and then we'd look to arrange partnerships with them where we might have a stand, or we might have the opportunity to exit flyer, or whatever it be, but kind of getting amongst the community. So whether it's for this particular person, whether they want to go to similar events and start spreading the word about their own, or partnering up with people that are similar and looking to kind of jump on board on that scale as well, that can be really beneficial, kind of approaching it from that fold as well. But definitely social media.
We've had a few other people ask about marketing and promotion, and the social media thing, I think, is something that'd be great to just dig into a little bit deeper. Do you, I know this is more Rob's area of the business, but can you explain to us how you, any particular preferences of social networks, or the way that you spend money or time to target what is predominantly a youth market?
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of changed over since when we first started. It was basically everything was just Facebook for us. It was an amazing platform. You could build a Facebook page and you could really nicely communicate your products to that page, which essentially they'd share with their friends and it'd go viral because it's a great deal. Now, as most people know, if you have a large Facebook page, like we've got huge sort of Facebook presence across our different products. But to promote to that page, I think your organic reach is only a couple of percent, and then you have to pay now to promote to your own audience. With Facebook trying to monetize as much as possible, so Facebook as a platform for us is still really important to have that brand presence there and to communicate. And we will see a good percentage of people booking from Facebook, but there's other forms of social media now that's come into play which are huge. Especially with the youth market, with them being on completely at the trend of everything that's happening. We've got big on Snapchat. Doing different fun things from resorts, wish you were here type things when people are out in Mallorca, and deals of the day. Instagram is massive as well. I think Instagram is probably one of the biggest platforms within the youth market. So kind of having a good presence on Instagram, and then obviously Twitter is great, that you can kind of search what people are talking about and kind of market towards them. So for example, you can see people saying, "Oh, I'm looking to book a holiday with my mates. Where should we go this year?" You can then engage that person in a conversation, being like, "Oh, you should maybe check out this destination and check out this website," and all those sort of things. So before, when we used to be completely reliant on Facebook, we've now had to kind of tailor that to a cross-platform type approach. But most to be honest, with the travel industry, you know, social media is great for building brand presence, but in terms of direct response and sales, for us it's kind of ad networks and Google PPC, especially in the travel industry. PPC is huge, and you know, being up there on the adverts when people are searching for different destinations is essential.
Is that something you manage in-house, or have you found that you've had to kind of outsource it to agencies that have specialists in it?
Well, my background is actually I worked whilst I was at uni for various different advertising firms and as well kind of part-time stuff, and so we've kind of know the key understanding. Some of it is outsourced, such as SEO and that sort of thing, but in terms of and all our design and stuff, but in terms of actual managing the PPC campaigns, that's something that we manage daily in-house, and I actually kind of oversee all of that kind of front of it with our sort of marketing team. But yeah, it's key for us that that is actually managed internally.
Okay, brilliant. If we have any more questions, then ask them now or forever. Hold your breath. We only have one more that is in the panel. It's from Stephen Daniels again. It's what sorts of amounts do you spend on marketing, which I don't think you're going to give away. How do you kind of track return on investment? So I guess that's something you can talk about generally.
Yeah, obviously not really going to reveal our marketing budgets, but in terms of tracking, I mean, the beauty of our business is everything's online. You know, we've got tracking tags, so if someone, you know, we know how many people have purchased from Facebook, we know how many people have purchased from Google, how many people have called up over the phone and booked and where they've come from. So we've implemented different tracking devices across our different marketing platforms. So everything's got a tag, everything kind of fits within our platform, so you can see exactly what's converting and working towards your kind of CPA, your cost per acquisition, is on track. And if a certain platform's not working, then you'll either look to optimize that or look to upweight other areas that are performing better.
Okay, brilliant. The final question is going to Sarah Hernandez, who she says, do you do things specifically with student markets, universities? I guess you do. I guess you target them, but I don't know.
When we start, yeah, I mean, when we started, I'd say maybe 90% of our customers were students, and I'd probably say that figure's now probably about 20%, which is bizarre, but I think it's because we realised that this market is huge for maybe the school, especially for the clubbing holidays. It's mainly the school leavers. You know, it's that kind of rite of passage in the UK that when you leave college or you leave sixth form, you go on a sort of clubbing holiday. And when you're at university, you kind of tailor off and you do go on these type of trips, but you maybe go into railing or you go do teaching football in America, or you know, it kind of gets diluted. So yeah, we do a lot of stuff. I mean, we did a lot with NUS. We do a lot of competitions with NUS. We work with various student unions across the country. We do direct trips for student unions. So, for example, we're working with University College Dublin to provide all their kind of summer trips. This summer, we work with various different student institutions. For Snowbox, we did lots of snow parties at different student unions across the country. So, yeah, I mean, the student market's obviously huge, and it is a key part of our business. But yeah, we're no longer just the kind of student travel. It's you know, that's now forms a important but much smaller part of our business, of our customer demographic.
Okay, brilliant. Sorry, just quickly scanning down the questions. Okay, so we've got a question that is sorry, it's very long, so I was just kind of scanning through. It's essentially looking at how you incentivize partners that you work with. So do you pay them a commission fee, or is it a finder's fee?
It varies, but yeah, generally we pay a commission. So for for our summer products, we have a lot of other tour operators that resell our product. So we work with everyone from Travel Republic to Jet2, some big travel agents, and yeah, they all get a commission, and they work on a kind of commission basis. Yeah, so generally that's kind of how we kind of structure that. We don't tend to work off finders fees. We generally just try and work on a kind of commission type business where you know that you're going to be getting a sale in and paying someone a reward for that sale rather than just a flat finder's fee to begin with.
Great, thanks. Aidan, I'd like to wrap up just by kind of talking to you a little bit about scale. So if people listening in are at the stage where they're at the £1 million, or maybe if they're a little bit before that, what kind of things should they be looking to identify in their business model that will tell them that they've got a business that they can actually scale and ramp?
I mean, I guess it'd be looking at things like opportunity, like how big is the size of the market? Are you at, you know, where are you relatively? So, for example, when we did our Ibiza trip, we took 600, but we looked at, you know, maybe 75,000 people go to Ibiza every summer, and 60% of those or 65% of those are under the age of 24. So it's kind of like understanding where you fit within that marketplace. And first of all, you know, how big is the pool? How big is the opportunity? And if the opportunity is there, then it's looking at where you kind of how you drive forward, where you find that growth. So whether it's like we did, whereas we didn't take any money out of the company for 2 years, and we spent every piece of that penny in developing new opportunities, using that to develop new products, new technology. You know, it's kind of how can you drive costs down without sacrificing quality of product as well, which was really important for us. Is when we first started out. You know, our margins are definitely much bigger now than they were naturally when we first started, both obviously because of economies of scale, but because you learn as you move on. So it's how can you tailor your business as well to become more economical. But I think essentially it's just looking at how you can grow as fast as possible, and what means you need to go there. So whether it's seeking investment, whether you go like we did and go down the kind of the less traditional Dragon's Den route, or whether you go in to get an angel investor, whether you go for a Series A, or however it is you want to go for it. But if you see there's an opportunity there, and I think it's important as a small business that you need to go on a fast trajectory. You don't want to be treading water. You don't want to be growing it. Maybe yes, growth's important, but I think it's important to be hungry to grow as much as possible. And so, you know, I definitely kind of as a strategy recommend trying to look within the market or look around to see how you can get there. And if using investors is the key, then yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So it's kind of a think big mentality then, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we're all in this game because that's what we do. You know, we're not in this game to carry 600 passengers a year and maybe carry 800 the next, and grow in small numbers. You know, you want to be the biggest, you want to be the best, and the only way to get there is to, you know, is to be hungry and to grow as fast as possible. So yeah, it's definitely a think big mentality, but look at how you can sort of cleverly, strategically grow that isn't gonna maybe, you know, saturate you, whether you're going to grow too quickly and you can't cope with the growth, which is definitely a common problem that I know that some of my friends who run businesses have encountered. Or you know, there's different ways you've got to look at it, but it's making sure that your business model is scalable, and that you can cope with the increased demand as well.
Okay, well, brilliant. Thank you very much, Aidan. It's fascinating to hear the story of Mainstage Travel, and I wish you all the very best of luck in the future, but I'm not sure you're going to need it because it sounds like you guys are absolutely killing it at the moment. Thanks for joining us, really appreciate it. And of course, everybody that has tuned in, thank you very much. I hope you found it as useful and valuable as I did. Lots of inspiration to take away. So thanks again for attending. We will email you a recording of the webinar so you can catch up with it in your own time afterwards. And we'll be in touch about future webinars as part of the Santander Business Breakthrough events in partnership with Smarta. So once again, everybody, thank you, Aidan. Thanks for everybody for tuning in, and look forward to catching up with you again in the future. Thank you.